the whole of the New World Order. I have a unique perspective for a lot of different reasons. It's not like I'm setting myself up as being a great analyst from any kind of a trained sense. But I've lived all over the planet with all different kinds of people. I was not in the United States during most of my formative years, and yet I'm uniquely American in many regards. And but I have a perspective that is comes from any number of different parts of the planet, because I've lived on those parts of the planet for years because of the nature of the way in which the Army transfers the dependents around, and have seen things from the perspective of the natives over there, depending on where over there is. And so as a result of that, I've got a view on the level of complexity that escapes a lot of people that were born in the United States or North American continent and basically have never left it or never lived outside of it for any prolonged period of time. Expats are very useful. Usually they're bitter, terrible people that have different issues with their homeland for their own karmic reasons and or reasons of a local upheaval and population changes. But they provide everybody with a view of themselves and a collective, we America kind of a view that, if you've got the brains to look at it, is very, very, very useful, because seeing yourself as others see you can prevent all kinds of problems. It's like, oh, geez, I'm being a real ass. Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Now, this doesn't translate to our, quote, leaders, in fact, who are our rulers, who are part of the illegal and evil minion class of the secret shadow government guys, but it does apply to the populace. And this is part of the problem, actually, with the complexity in the New World Order and all of this. I actually think that the New World Order guys are fighting for their lives at the moment. That they're desperate. There's just signs of desperation going on everywhere. The New World Order guys are so scared shitless of what's happening to themselves now and the projections that they have put out to the future, that they're doing all of this weird stuff with all this huge rise in fascism in a very rapid fashion. Now let's examine what is going on. All of the laws, everything being pushed in from the year 1999 forward, in basically a 12-year period of time, they've accomplished about twice as much social engineering at a global level as occurred prior to World War II. In terms of the Enabling Act and the laws and everything, it took twice as long to get World War II set up as it has to get World War III set up, but they don't have World War III. And they're really, really upset about this. And so they're trying other approaches. They tried approach number one, 2007, it didn't work, and they've been trying ever since to push this World War III agenda and get their whole thing going. But they've got problems. Some of the problems are of their own making, in the sense that they are the ones that created the ideas of the chaos and the conflict from which they were going to emerge their order. The problem was, in order to do this in a global fashion, they had to increase complexity beyond anything that they can actually manage. And the complexity itself, the nature of complexity, has intruded upon their ability to manage it, because just think about it. From the viewpoint of the New World Order guys, in order to keep everything secret, they got to put everybody into little tiny boxes, and then they've got to figure out some way to manage all these little tiny boxes so that people in the little boxes don't talk to each other. And then there's a further level of complexity, because they got to manage all the people that are managing the boxes, and then somebody's got to manage those people, and so on. And this leads you ultimately to the point where you have the Pentagon with 88,000 employees in a chain of command that has one soldier on the ground having 55 bosses above him in a direct chain of command. And it's sort of the inverse of the way that armies and everything used to be. This is why they're desperate to get the robotic aspect of things in they automate the actual killing and control of the human population. This is why they're desperate to get things like electronically activated handcuffs with unique internet ID addresses, so that they can zap groups of people via SQL statements down to the individual being, or up to groups of people that are rioting in different cell blocks, that kind of thing. because they'll be able to craft a SQL statement in a computer somewhere, send out a signal that the computer in charge of that will say, okay, and send off the signal itself, which will, send out drugs out of the handcuffs or zap the people or fry them or whatever it's supposed to do. And they want to be able to do that to the population as a whole. And one can ask, rightly so, why? What's their motivation? What's happening? Well, the New World Order guys are being squeezed. They're really in a world of hurt. You should go and read the Veterans Today article about the Secret Space War. Listen to Gordon Duff and some of the stuff that he's written. Go and read that. Have a look at the David Icke stuff. Get a real large view of things. And you come back to the understanding of what is occurring right at this moment, especially if you've got these 3D goggles and you've actually seen the things occurring over your head when there's no chemtrails. You'll note that there's a huge war going on up in space. And a lot of the debris we're seeing coming down here fits with our old Alta reports, and I don't even remember if it was a SHAPE report or an Alta report, it's been so long, but about the remnants of Rama, which is a famous science fiction book. But in this case, I was using the term in a literary illusion fashion to suggest that we're going to have debris from space battles falling on our head. And that's what a lot of these multicolored fireballs and things are. It's the debris of what's going on at the moment above our heads, about 145 to maybe 500 miles out. There's this really intense war going on. This war is putting pressure on the secret shadow government, a.k.a. New World Order, a.k.a. whatever. But those guys are not the minion class. The secret shadow government interacts with the bankers, because the bankers are the ticks that are sucking the blood out of all of us to support the shadow government, because in the shadow world out there, the breakaway civilization, because those guys cannot exist without us. They need things. They need minerals. They need energy at the crude fashion of heat to fashion the metals to do the changes into the technology, etc. They need resources in the form of rare earth minerals. They need metallics. They need radioactives, all kinds of things. They need labor. They may even, for some weird-ass reason, need genetic material to trade with the space aliens who are probably using us as food. Very likely so. At that level. And so bear in mind, that's another discussion we have to have in another Wujo, which is the difference between cattle and a gorilla. A very interesting topic. But here we are with the New World Order fighting for its life. New World Order includes at the bottom all the minion people like Obama and all of his guys, and in the military, and that's unawake or unaware to the real reality. Those that are merely tools, those are outside the minion class. The minions sort of know what's going on, and so it would be the upper echelon military that know that there's more there than what they've been told was there. And thus they're a little bit on the paranoid side. It would probably include a lot of people in the intelligence world, and that would be our, from our viewpoint as regular humans, that would be the bottom edge of the secret shadow world above us at the minion level that goes all the way up through the politicians into the high-end bankers and so on. Now, most of the guys in Wall Street, they don't have a fucking clue. These guys are as soulless and retarded as slugs, and about as awake as a good-sized banana slug. They are useful tools to the bankers for raping the rest of us. They're amoral. They've been trained that way. They will not do well in the upcoming years. We can kind of like get them out of our minds. They're going to be an impediment, but they will be a self-limiting one. The bankers and above, though, the tribalist elite are they're an issue. And we're going to have to deal with them, but there's a relatively small number of them, and there's billions of us, and they can kill half of us, and they still will all die, which is a good ratio for us. Not that it's good to be in the half that dies, but we're all eternal, and we'll come rotating around again, and death is but a doorway and a momentary exchange out of the materium, and you'll reform. It's not that big of a deal, although traumatic at the moment. So anyway, here we are with the complexity of the New World Order that it's imposed on itself. The minion people having to take all their workers and chop them up into all of these boxes and then figure out some way to organize the boxes has led the New World Order, because they were sort of successful in the 50s and 60s and 70s, to think that, box management is a cool idea, and we can just extend that to where every being on the planet is a box, and we just have a big enough computer system, automated system, that allows us to manage all the boxes at the level we want. Makes sense to them. They're infallible. They think they've got it all. Well, now, though, the situation has radically changed. The paradigm of the box management that has been imposed from the last century and the last millennium is under a great deal of stress, because they had not anticipated the nature of complexity and how complexity grows exponentially once a certain level of understanding is reached. And now not only have they created all of the boxes, they've created within all the boxes all these millions of separate little agendas. The joke being that if you've got, 65,000 CIA employees, you've got 130,000 subplots. And it varies depending on which two CIA guys are talking to which other two CIA guys at the moment. Same thing is true of basically all the intelligence agencies and all of this kind of thing. Allegiances shift on a moment-by-moment basis. It makes the complexity of the Venusian and Papist wars of the 1800s and the Byzantine political maneuverings look positively simple. It is that complex on what's going on. Very difficult for these people in the little box mentality to navigate this and to understand what's going on. This may indeed be a part of another subject, or another subset of about a subject of about the awakening process, and how I think that there's actual changes in the nature of perception such that universe is providing us with this. And in fact, let's divert for a second. I'm of the opinion that one of the problems New World Order has is that there is a wave of awakening that is consciously directed from the consciousness on the other side of materium, coming along here deliberately to put this pressure on the New World Order guys at this moment. Basically, the materium, or universe, if we want to think of it that way, is pushing the awakening process to the extent that it's causing people like Brzezinski and all of his buddies in the Council on let's see, what is it? Council on Fucked Up Relations, the CFR, to really sweat it. These guys are very desperate now. They realize the awakening process can't be controlled, that it is exponentially growing, which is really true. It's kind of cool. Here it is, 2012. I've been doing these kind of not discussions, not the Wujo things, but the totality of the work I've been doing as a, quote, awakening person extends all the way back to 1999. And yet here we are, and I'm still getting people that are stumbling across my material for the very first time. Those poor bastards, imagine running into all of that stuff all at once out there, as opposed to growing up along with it. Must be quite the shock. Nonetheless, though, it shows that bloop, 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 bloop approach to universe is indeed working, and that it is going to destroy the Big Bang theory, where everything is created in a big empty space that's manageable. You'll note that really is at the core of it. We could label the two camps that way. The little bloop guys, where bazillions of little bloops come on out and independently cause problems, for the big bangers. And the big bangers are of the opinion that because there's a giant empty space out there, they're able to claim it and own it. Not understanding that we bring the space with us. We bring our own gravity with us. Gravity does not exist, by the way, outside of the space boundary of any given atom. So there is no such thing as a gravity matrix that exists independent of the individual atom. The gravity, if we were to take all of the atoms out of the universe and still have space, which is an impossibility, there would be no gravity in space. There would be no gravity as a mechanism. Not only would there be none of that, there'd be no electricity, etc. But the point being that it is a perception of universe that has allowed these guys, the Big Bang fellows, to actually believe that they can be in control of things, and that their approach could have a chance of success. if you're a little blooper sort of a fellow, then you understand that all of our atoms are discrete. They have a lifespan of their own. There is no such thing as persistence in universe in that sense. Nothing is solid, and we are all discrete. And you're more of a neural net kind of a guy in terms of this. You're non-deterministic, and you understand that control and rule by force at that level must break down simply because of the nature of universe, that there's bazillions of complexities